Catching in the corner of Dr. Doom's basement. But he's our homie, so we never ever pay rent. N to the E to the Nerdtopia. Like a plasma cannon, man, you know we're steady smoking. Yep, comics, books, movies, and video games are our claim to fame and recognition of name. We've changed terrain, but kept it the same. And we hope to gain acclaim from time and again. We're coming at you, reaping from Walking Dead. And you know we got pissed when the Reading ran red. A plethora of guests, even more than Bill and Ted. The Raiders of the Lost Ark, gonna go to our head. It's dangerous to go alone, your iPod should have us. And Superheroes got our back, and that you can trust. We're blowing up crazy large, like our name was Alderaan. So let's give a hand to Doolin, cause his mic is on word.
What's happening, Nerdtopia? Welcome to Nerdtopia. We're back. This is Doolin Dalton and my buddy
Ryan Visingard. What's up, guys?
And we're going to go ahead and come back for another hour of the nerdy goodness today, man. How's your week been going?
It's been pretty good. I can't complain too much, getting out in those yards, digging up them weeds.
You getting doing some landscaping now?
Yeah, definitely. It's good. It's peaceful. It's quiet. So, I can't complain.
Just kind of left alone to your thoughts and your devices, and that's kind of cool.
Yep.
Kind of wish I had that luxury.
No, you get to deal with lots of people and the headache of lots of people.
Oh shit, man! Well, what's been going on? We took a little bit of time off. Last time you and I sat down and we talked about Batman v Superman, and then after that, I kind of sat down and talked a little bit about the Game of Thrones season finale, which was fun. Did you catch that?
Oh yeah, I did. That was fantastic. I'm definitely happy to see them basically pointing everything to a head, and the fact that I feel that the writers really did a great job letting all the women take over the roles. It's kind of there's one.
It really was the girl power season.
Well,
man.
Not only through the whole season, but as we scale through all the episodes back to the first season, you can see the scaling back of the men and the women coming forward, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing Daenerys release her powers and go full stream, saying basically "I'm Daenerys" was a pretty cool experience. Mm-hmm. I liked watching that. So I think overall HBO and the writers are doing a great job with the show. I love how they flushed out all the females and the males have kind of taken a step back. I think it's really, really cool.
It's cool, man, to see where it's going to go. I don't want to harp on that too long because I spoke about it last episode. But speaking of the girl power, man, didn't you say you saw Ghostbusters this week, the new one?
I did. I'm not going to be a naysayer. The film wasn't great.
Just tell me what you think. I didn't see it, so just what you thought of it.
Overall, I think it was.
We don't have a big enough following. People aren't gonna scream at us.
It stood its own. I thought. It definitely had the last half an hour was very lackluster. The villain was very lackluster. Mm-hmm. The girls were great.
Did it feel like it was just sort of a cash grab on nostalgic value kind of thing?
In its own way, yes, very much so. But at the same time, I think that it's a franchise movie. It's basically setting up for a sequel, and the whole thing is kind of a lead into another one.
I don't think the sequel's going to happen, man. I read an article today. They said there's not going to be a sequel.
Well, that's too bad. So,
oh well, what can you do? But no, man, it's been a pretty cool summer. Big announcements out of ComiCon, as there always is. But they released both the Wonder Woman trailer and they released some Justice League footage, which surprised everybody, which I thought was amazing. I wasn't really expecting to see that, nor was anybody else. But I thought that we'd talk about it a little bit, since the last time I had you in here, we talked a little bit about Batman v Superman and the future of the DC Cinematic Universe. And you're kind of I'm kind of the naysayer, and you're kind of the devil's advocate.
Right.
And I had you over today. I'm like, dude, come here. You gotta watch these trailers. Let's check out these trailers.
Yeah, because unfortunately I just do not keep up with Comic-Con as much as I should. But.
Well, yeah, it's just I don't really keep up with Comic-Con per se, but it's just like following my Facebook news feed. You get these trailers. I'm like, oh, cool, the Wonder Woman trailer's out. Oh, cool, Justice League footage, and I check it out. Strangely enough, I'm kind of more excited for Wonder Woman than I am Justice League. It seemed like very much it was kind of like their version of Thor, almost.
Yeah, definitely. After watching the preview, I definitely feel that it's a Thor, Captain America mesh on their end. Yeah,
very much a kind of World War I kind of war movie. So I guess if you could have Thor but still have it be a war movie at the same time.
Right.
And they kind of nodded towards that a little bit in Batman v Superman when they go back and you see the picture of Chris Pine as Steve Trevor and in World War One, and so I guess this is going to kind of more or less be an origin story / flashback for Wonder Woman.
It definitely looks like an interesting take on the character. You can definitely tell that they've kept true to some elements, but they're definitely reinventing her. I think overall she's an interesting character, and to bring her up to date should be an interesting twist that I'm not sure where they're going to go with it.
Well, I think with Wonder Woman, you don't have quite as many people that are going to be naysayers per se, so much as you would with a Batman or a Superman movie. And the reason why is, we all grew up watching, Superman on television or the Christopher Reeves movies. We watched Smallville, we watched the Dean Cain version in the 90s, and particularly with Batman, we've all seen that movie. There's been so many different actors to cover that role of Batman, and not everybody reads the comic books.
And we touched on it last time we were talking about Batman versus Superman. These are iconic characters that the fans already have kind of like
their own image,
right?
Of how they want it to be.
They've already got it set up, so that's the way they want to see it. So,
when you say Wonder Woman, people think of one of a few things. Either think of the comic book hero,
right,
or they think of maybe a cartoon hero, like for the animated Justice League TV series that was on the air, or they think of Linda Carter.
Right.
But it's been kind of very basic and cookie cutter. So, I would even argue that I thought Wonder Woman was probably one of the best things about Batman v Superman, even with its kind of really weak writing. So, I don't think as many people have such a solid idea in their head as to what they want Wonder Woman to be. And plus, let's just face it, she's been long overdue for a movie. Like, she's been owed it for a long time.
Yeah, definitely. I think lead female comic book characters definitely need to have their offshoots, their own films, to have them stand alone on their own. But I think the biggest thing with Wonder Woman, and like you touched on it there, was the fact that she's a character that came around basically because of a bondage fetish the actual writer had.
Really?
Yeah, if you go
I did not know this.
Yeah.
I'm getting educated today, son.
Basically, if you go back when she first came out, a lot of the comics were dealing with like rope tying, being tied up.
So the lasso of truth is kind of a kinky thing.
Exactly. So, but there's some books out there that actually touch on this whole subgenre of writing, basically about what the character was about and who she was. But then you see there's a transformation in I believe it's the 70s, where she kind of like puts away the persona and becomes like a businesswoman, and so there's a bunch of different ways they could go with her. So, like you said, I don't think the fans are so glued on one particular image of her.
Sorry about that.
As long as they portray her in the comic book fashion, I think the outfit actually works really well for her. So.
I think it does too. It works out, and you get to see the lasso of truth a little bit in the series. You get to see her kind of kicking some ass out there on the battlefield, and then. And Steve Trevor in that series, he was no damsel in distress. He was definitely a mortal man. Couldn't really stand up next to her, but he held his own, which was kind of cool. But I'm gonna play just a little tiny clip here that showcases the battle scene here on the podcast. So if you missed it, this is just a little cut from the Wonder Woman ComiCon trailer that they released this past month.
What I do is not up to you.
Oh man,
I think it looks amazing.
I really, like I said, she's been long overdue.
Well, it's like we were just talking about. It's very interesting to me when you're watching it, because you definitely feel a Captain America thing going on.
A little bit, yeah.
The coloring, the color scheme.
Well, plus
it's the same wartime.
She had the Patriot thing going for her, as well as as Wonder Woman, especially during like the golden age of comic books.
But it's definitely cool to see the fighting style, because this fighting style is there's a definitely
it's exotic. It's very
exactly.
exotic. She's running headfirst into this battlefield, and she's she's very much a warrior of old, being faced with this modern weaponry, not modern for our time, but modern for them, obviously.
Definitely.
And just the scene where she runs in and she just backhands a missile that's coming at her like it's nothing. I don't know, man. I have high hopes for the Wonder Woman movie coming out next year, and then following that, they were treated with the Justice League footage, and I watched it and I enjoyed it, but I got to be honest, I'm just not quite as excited for Justice League as I am for Wonder Woman. It just something about Wonder Woman kind of excited me a little bit more.
I think the Wonder Woman film, because it's placed in a different time period. It's kind of like a
bit of a period piece,
right? And it's a flashback, and it's a standalone film where there's no other heroes. It's just her standing on her own. I mean, when you look at the trailer, the fact that I feel like this would be her first standalone film, so they've really got to push the fact that she is one tough hombro. You know what I'm saying? They have to drive that in, and the audience has to buy in. So,
sure.
I mean, for a female lead film and for DC to take the lead on a female lead comic book hero, they've really got to drive her in. You know what I mean? So,
I mean, female leads are kind of really becoming the hot popular thing for the action films right now, and Wonder Woman is. She wants she's long overdue for that film, but it's
as long as they don't treat it like a fad, you know what I mean?
I know. I'm not saying that it's a fad. I'm just saying it is now becoming popular.
Right.
Whether I'm not saying that it's going to fade from popularity, but you have those characters like Wonder Woman, like Katniss Everdeen, the new Ghostbusters movie, which maybe didn't do so well, but I don't feel like that's slowing it down so much anymore. We also have. Harley Quinn looks like she's going to be a very strong female lead.
I think so too,
Squad.
but they're definitely playing off the sexuality part of it all. But
I think Harley Quinn is a sexualized character, but then again, she always was. When you consider, however, she was just made for the animated series just to kind of be Joker's little girlfriend,
right?
And she was nothing really important about her other than to be that kind of sidekick to the Joker.
Well, it wasn't until the episode called Mad Love.
That was a great episode, man.
Did you start to flush out the character of Harley Quinn? And I think in some aspects they've lost kind of what she was all about in the beginning. That Bruce Timm invented was, she's a psychoanalyst. She's sitting there being manipulated by the Joker, and then finds herself actually in love with the Joker. And people are like, "Well, it's post-traumatic stress syndrome," but it's actually not, because she actually goes back and explains that she actually wants to be Harley Quinn. That's who she wants to be.
Right.
So the Joker basically just flushes out
what she wanted.
Exactly. And I hope they touch in some of that. I hope they go into that character. I mean, from what I've seen from the previews, you have so many characters fighting for screen time in Suicide Squad that I hope they definitely dive into her a little bit more. I mean, it seems like with the Joker clips and some of the clips where she's in the jacket and she looks like she's all done up like a doctor, I think I just hope they flush that out a little bit.
I'm hoping so too. And of course Suicide Squad is I'm pretty sure that's the next installment that we're getting for the DC Cinematic Universe. Is it this Friday?
Yeah, I think it's this Friday.
Holy shit. Okay. Man, I am so far behind. We got to go see that.
I definitely want to see it.
Then we can cast
about it.
I'd
like to see who the villain is.
We were talking about that a minute ago. It's interesting when you have a group full of villains turned rogues or anti-heroes, as you will. It's kind of difficult to say who the villain would be in a movie like that, because you've already got the baddest of the bad that are playing the protagonists.
Right.
So,
well, they're talking about Enchantress, who's part of the team somehow. So
the
they're
DC
talking about
Enchantress, obviously.
Right, and they're hinting to the Tattooed Man. There's a bunch of different rumors out there, so I'm interested really to see how they twist this storyline into the rest of their DC cinematic universe.
Ben Affleck is confirmed for Suicide Squad, because I don't think you can put all those characters together and not have Batman show up, since the heroes are all characters from Batman's Rogues Gallery.
Right.
So it would be difficult to do the movie without Ben Affleck. I'm really on the fence about their redesign of Joker, because I guess, like you said, we all have our versions of what we feel that character should be.
I would have bought more into the Joker character if they hadn't given him the tattoos. That's like my major complaint. I'm okay with him being a hipster punk rocker type guy.
Sure.
And that's fine. You know, whatever they're going to write, as long as the writing is good behind the character and you stay true to the essence.
Mm-hmm.
But the tattoos, I felt like it's almost too modern. It's too, like, you know what I mean? Like,
a little much, yeah.
You know, damaged on the forehead is... You want to have a couple tattoos on the body that you don't see unless he's out of his suit.
I mean, like, what would you do there? Like, have a tattoo on Superman's forehead that says "missing home," or a tattoo on Batman's forehead that says "Mrs. Parents."
Well, he's already branding people. I mean, you know,
don't get me. We've already touched on that before. I'm like, that's not Batman.
But yeah, as far as the Joker's concerned, if they stay, well. I mean, only time will tell. I have to actually watch this film. I have high hopes that he'll pull it off in his own kind of way. From what I've read, the Harley and Joker personalities are a lot like Sid Vicious and Nancy.
Okay.
And I can buy into that. So they're like these punk rock kind of ghetto modern... it looks almost too cliche-ish to me.
Joker hasn't really been featured in the Suicide Squad trailers that much.
Well,
I think they're playing that hand very sparingly.
I think that they are too, but I think underneath it all, they're I don't know. I'm not exactly sure where they're going to go with it. Actually, I would really like to see them stay true to the character of the Joker, but I can see them actually kind of drifting away from what we're used to, since they're already kind of doing that with Superman and these other characters. So we'll definitely have to play it by ear and have to go see the film. You know?
Well, you know, characters always need to be reinvented. You should always reinvent the character for the new generation. But, you know, and then you just have to ask that question, you know, are people going to like it? Are they not? Well, you know, there's no real right or wrong about what people like.
Well, see, my biggest concern when they do these rewrites and they recreate these characters, sometimes it drifts into the comics, okay? Yeah. So as it drifts into the comics, it begins...
Like, you know, Harley Quinn was never made for the comics, and she made her way to the comics, and now she's made her way to the screen. So.
Right. And each interpretation is a little bit different from the Harley that we are used to.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Once again, we're talking about a character that's secondary, and if you're not a hardcore Harley Quinn fan, then you're kind of okay with changes that they may make throughout her cinematic appearances. So,
sure.
But as far as the Joker's concerned, there's key elements. So I'm not sure where they're going to go with it. I'm hoping Leto does something really cool. But I know
just his name makes me cringe because of the shit I've seen him do as the character so far. We will see. You know, I will reserve my judgment until after I've seen the movie.
But, I mean, already let's just agree that his look looks pretty shitty.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's one. It's a matter of opinion, but it's an opinion that I agree with. So yeah,
I mean, you know, I'll play the devil's advocate, but when it comes to the Joker, I mean, he's got to have a certain look, and like I said, I would have bought into the whole damn thing if the guy hadn't had the damn tattoos. It's the tattoos that ruin it for me.
Also the grill. That kind of messed it up for me too.
Well, you know, if he doesn't show his teeth too much, you seem to see in the one preview he's kind of holding up his hand with the smiley face.
Yeah. So
we'll see what the hell they're going to do with the character overall.
Well, you know, and it'll all tie into, you know, their bigger plan somehow, and that's what I'm kind of wondering is, you know, is this all going to work out? And I guess we'll wait until Justice League to see if everything kind of meshes up and ties in together.
Well, Justice League didn't look too bad from the trailer. I will sit back and say, see, I told you they had a plan.
Well, I mean, I agree with that.
You know what I mean? Like when everybody was dogging Batman versus Superman.
Sure.
I said, you know, I know it's going to be a change. I know it's a bunch of stuff that's going on in this film that people aren't going to like, but I feel like DC had a plan, and I see that with Justice League. You can kind of see what they're leading into. I do like the feel and the look of the film so far, but until we see some more, I think we have to see how they portray Darkseid and how they're going to bring in that particular character and how they take care of that character. I do believe that this film, like I said, will be the formation of Justice League,
right?
With hints of whatever's going on with Darkseid, but I don't think there'll be a complete reveal. I think.
Well, let's take a look. We're just gonna play a quick clip of the Justice League ComiCon trailer that they released, and this is where you have Batman coming to Barry Allen trying to recruit him for the team. So if you missed it, this is just a real quick little taste of that.
Barry Allen. Bruce Wayne.
You said that like it explains why there's a total stranger sitting in the dark in my second favorite chair.
He said he'll fight with us?
More or less.
More or more less?
Probably more or less.
He said no.
He said no.
Look, man, I don't know who you are, but whoever you're looking for,
So you're fast.
that feels like an oversimplification.
I'm putting together a team. People with special abilities. You see, I believe enemies are coming.
Stop right there. I'm in.
So just a little taste of what they're doing with that, and it kind of looks like Bruce Wayne is more or less the Nick Fury that is kind of coming around, putting everything together. But I guess what bothers me is, you're in that trailer, you're missing the one key element, which is Superman. So
Right.
I don't know that we're going to get Superman back in Justice League yet.
I don't think we're going to get him back in the first film. I think what's going to happen now, from seeing the preview and the test footage, I think basically they're going to create the team via Batman. And I think we'll see hints of Darkseid and maybe a reveal toward the end of Darkseid, kind of like what they did with Thanos.
Sure.
And believe it or not, I don't think into the next Justice League we won't see Superman's return until toward the end.
Really?
I'm thinking he'll be the one.
Henry Cavill's going to be out for a while.
He's gonna be the one who takes down Darkseid. They're gonna have to find a way to bring him back or whatever. Him coming back at a crucial point in Justice League 2 to save the day. I think that's also the only way we could
Justice
probably...
League 2, Electric Boogaloo.
I think for you, even as a Superman fan, I think it's the only way they can redeem that character.
Yeah, I mean,
And I
kind of
think
bring him back as bright
It's
and
almost
sunny.
like,
and
yeah, they can do that, but also giving you a break from the character, because it's almost like we don't have to reboot. We can just kill him off, leave him alone for a little while. Everybody kind of won't remember the mistakes we made before, and we'll bring him back as our big, shining savior.
Right. I mean, everybody knows he's coming back. Like, it's not. That's the only thing that bothered me. I guess is they're playing it up like it's going to be some sort of reveal when he comes back. It's
Right.
not, obviously.
Right.
Everybody knows that he's coming back.
But I mean, when you look at the preview, though, it you can definitely look at this all these characters like almost like ragtag. They're not developed. They're not built.
Sure.
I think if they went up against a character like Darkseid, if they do him correctly, they'd lose. So
sure.
when you
Darkseid's
just-
all powerful.
Just by looking,
he's
at
their Thanos.
right?
Essentially.
Exactly. If just by looking at the preview, you can tell that they're going to have to bring Superman into this, and in true DC style, they're going to bring him back out as the big savior. So I mean, when they do that, I think it's going to be toward the middle of Justice League 2, or and I hope they do like a search for Spock kind of thing with it. I mean,
Sure.
I think that would be cool if Superman's already back and they're trying to find him and he's got missing memory. And I mean, why not? If they're going to do something creative and clever with the film.
Also, in Batman v Superman, there was also hints of Injustice a little bit in there too, which makes me wonder if they're going to pursue that storyline, or maybe Flashpoint. It looks almost like it was kind of a mashup between, could be either one of those two storylines, but it really hinted heavily towards Injustice.
They did, and I don't think we're quite ready. For
I
that.
don't want it, honestly.
If they want to do that down the road, that's fine. They can lead basically the fans who are into those kind of the game and Injustice. They can basically sneak stuff in there to say, okay, maybe down the road we'll do something like that. 'Cause
Sure.
when you see Barry Allen's armor, I personally don't like it. It looks too robotic.
It looks, yeah.
He's too beefed up. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
agree.
used to Flash in a rubber suit, so
Something spandex, something he can move around in.
and then I don't really like how. I mean, Cyborg looks good. He looks like
He looks
Cyborg,
cool. Don't get me wrong. Like,
but
he's
he's
how
not-
I would imagine Cyborg
He's
to look.
too soon for me.
Yeah.
I think he's just a fill-in for Green Lantern. And
Yeah.
you're not going to really see Green Lantern until they start dealing with his solo films and the Green Lantern Corps.
Plus, I think with Green Lantern, there's just such a stink around that movie since the last time they attempted a Green Lantern movie.
Right.
They don't want to touch it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I understand, but I feel like
They're going to bring it in. I mean, I have a feeling, the way I'm looking at the DC and the way they verse Marvel as far as a studio,
Yeah.
I think that's going to be their version of Guardians of the Galaxy.
the Green Lantern movie.
Yeah, because
I think if you do that and you bring in the Green Lantern Corps and you have like
Right.
Kilowog and
Exactly.
Hal Jordan, or maybe not Hal Jordan, maybe they'll do John Stewart.
That's how they're going to take it to space. You know what
Sure.
I'm saying? I mean, Darkseid's going to open that just like Thanos did in Avengers.
Sure.
And then the way they're going to lead into the space thing is they'll do the Green Lantern Corps.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if you look at it, it's very similar to what Marvel's doing.
Well,
in
it's
its
what I
own
always
kinda
liked
way.
about the Green Lantern movies, particularly like with Hal Jordan in his early days, like, or even go back and watch like any Green Lantern animated movie, and he's very much the rookie cop in the space cop movie.
Right,
They're
right.
space cops, is
Right.
what they are. And then Kilowog is the sort of the cranky, what's his name, Danny Glover. I'm too old for this shit kind of
Right.
thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly.
so I always enjoy the Green Lantern movies for that. You got a little bit of the space politics in there. You see kind of what it is like on the outside
and all that crap.
and all that crap. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of crap.
It
to
is
take
a
in
lot of
there.
crap to
A
take in.
People don't know, like they think, oh well, I just like Green Lantern, and I'm like, well, you got to dive in. When you start diving into the Green Lantern Corps and all that kind of stuff, there's a lot of stuff out there.
To this day, one of my favorite DC graphic novels still remains Blackest Night, where like that
they're
is
bringing back all the dead ones
it is
and all
all
that stuff.
about it is all about Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern, and even Barry Allen, who becomes a Blue Lantern in that comic book. It's really about those two as like the main central characters,
Right?
Because
right.
anybody who's dead or has been dead at one point becomes a Black Lantern. If you ever get a chance to read it, by God, sit down and read it. It is amazing.
I also think it's really interesting when you sit down and touch on it. They're also the characters that get to see a lot of different cosmic beings and encounter a lot of different space cultures, etc. So you can definitely see how it parallels with what's going on with Guardians. Even
Absolutely.
though Guardians is probably going to feel completely different, I think that's definitely DC's way into that. And I think if you start looking at the landscape of both the companies, they're going to kind of mimic each other.
You think it's going to kind of level out at some point or another?
I think so, but I think if you look at the preview so far, they definitely feel different than Marvel films. I feel like they feel a little grittier, not so polished.
Yeah,
which
I agree.
I think in their color palette, I mean, lots of grays,
It's a lot
lots
of
brown.
monochromatics,
Yeah,
and
very earthy,
Right.
dark colors. And I think that's what they're going to try to define themselves from Marvel. Marvel's going to be very bright, very colorful.
Sure.
And I think they're doing a good job so far. We'll have to definitely see where they're going to take Justice League and how they're going to reintroduce Superman. My biggest thing is how they do Darkseid. If they don't do him correctly, I'm not going to be a fan. He's got to be done right. So I'm putting a lot of bank on that particular character. Because, I mean, you look at Fox and what they did to Apocalypse for me. I liked the film overall, but it wasn't
I
Apocalypse.
still haven't
So
seen Apocalypse yet.
I won't reveal it then to
Sure.
you, but it's
It
don't
was a
portray
letdown with
him.
one of their big bad
right. I mean,
badasses.
he wasn't a badass at all in that film. He
Really?
was more like this Messiah type character. but-
Messianics. Well, I mean, I guess they that's once again that's just the way they decided to spin it. That's their own take
Well, that's
on that
Bryan
character.
Singer. Bryan Singer's going to take the characters and do what he has to do and be artistically inclined. I mean,
Sure.
I think that's what is different a lot of times with Marvel from other companies and why they're doing so well is that they do say, okay, as a director, you do have the right to be creatively different
Sure.
and toy around with stuff, but you have to keep it in this box.
Yeah.
And I think in other companies like DC and some of these other companies, Fox, they take too much liberties on the characters and stuff, and they start switching up their origins. If you're gonna do it to where it's ground based and it's still to the core nature of the character. Don't veer away from that. You can do different looks. You can do different time periods. You can, you know what I mean. You can fudge with the character overall, but don't stick to the core. Like we were saying about Batman versus Superman, you want to stick to the core of what Superman stood for. It's the same thing with any of these characters. You have to stick to what made them who they are, and don't change that.
Don't
so
change
much.
it. It's okay to take some liberties, but once you start changing the core of who they are, is where we have issues.
Exactly.
Which
So-
I felt like, and maybe with some of these, I felt like they maybe tweaked the core just a little bit too much for my tastes. But that's just me.
I will have to go back to Justice League and the fact that I am enjoying Ben Affleck's portrayal of Batman. I'm sorry.
I don't hate it. I don't hate Ben Affleck's Batman. I really don't. I feel like that's not bad.
Well, I've seen some people like, okay, we'll take Val Kilmer for a person. The fact that he's
like
smiling,
Val Kilmer was Batman.
He was smiley Batman. He was happy Batman. If
you
look at
tell
the
me,
character,
Dr. Chase, do you like the circus?
He was happy Batman. You look at George Clooney. He was kind of
he was a better Bruce Wayne than a Batman.
right, exactly.
He was kind of suave, and as George Clooney is, kind of suave and smooth talking kind of thing. He did a great George Clooney. He did a great Bruce Wayne, but not so much a Batman.
No,
you know what I mean? Because
I still think it's funny that
they're two different people.
In that interview that he did, they were like, "Hey, have you ever played any gay men?" And he said, "Yes, I have. I played Bruce Wayne and Batman as a gay man." I think that's what they were trying to joke around with Robin and stuff.
Oh, that's always like the running joke,
But I think this Batman is kind of like he plays a very good in between kind of guy. He's not too dark to where he's not smiling and kind of being. He's kind of like I said. I think DC's going to turn him into the humor.
I mean, well, I was just going to say, if you look at that Justice League trailer, the clips, particularly the clip we just watched, there's that scene where Bruce is talking to Diana. And he says, what is it? She says, she's like, so is he going to join us? Referring to Aquaman, and you see the Aquaman throwing Bruce up there with his hand around his throat. He's like, well, more or less, mostly less, and it's a little bit of that sort of almost that kind of Joss Whedon sort of quip, what I mean?
Right, and
it doesn't lose its grittiness by adding just a little bit of humor that make people chuckle.
Well, and I think that's good for DC to kind of make, if they're going to make Superman the straight man, then they got to make him the smartass. And if you look at the Justice League cartoons, he kind of, by default, becomes the funny guy. He's not meant to be the funny guy. He just kind of falls into that.
Flash
place.
was in the animated series. Flash was always kind of the funny man.
Well, he's the comedian. There's a difference. There's the straight guy. There's the guy who's the smartass who kind of falls into being funny, but not like, okay, we're going to write this character funny. They wrote Flash to be funny, whereas Batman, if you watch him in the Justice League, which I love that character, he just kind of, he makes a comment that would be in if he was by himself, and his own cinematic would be like dark, but when it's put into the Justice League, it's almost kind of like a.
Just a funny little fun fact about that, like just a little side note tidbit. Did you know that it's Michael Rosenbaum, who was Lex Luthor?
I did.
Did the voice for Flash?
I did. And he's still doing it.
Is he? Yeah, well,
Yes.
I mean, why not? Why wouldn't you do it?
I used to think that was absolutely hilarious. And then, it's funny when you're listening to it, it doesn't sound like Rosenbaum.
No,
because
not
you're
at
so
all.
used to
It's
the
a character
portrayal of-
voice.
Yeah, you're so used to the character of Lex, which is very straight lace. But I think and it's funny, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, just freely, if you think they're at the preview, I think they're going to turn Barry Allen into like the Spider-Man. It seems like
kind of the quipper.
Right. He's going to be the Spider-Man, and when you start, I want to start
paralleling who's going to be what.
Right. When you start looking at it,
in Wonder Woman, it's kind of their Thor, more or less.
Right. Like we said, Captain America and Thor kind of slammed together
a little bit, but when you consider that she's from a completely different, almost alien sort of culture. Then she is kind of, because, I mean, especially, I think you'll see it a lot more in Wonder Woman, and in the trailer particularly, you see it where she's still kind of struggling to understand this culture, this world that she stepped into. And that is kind of what happens in Thor. Like, he shows up and he doesn't understand these Midgardians of this, this parallel world that he stepped into.
I definitely see the parallels there. But I also, like I said, for me, when I look at it, like, because the feels so much time period and such with Captain America, I think we're going to see a lot of like the values that you see with Captain America,
right?
Where it's like, but there's going to be a female twist on it because she's from an all dominated female society. But it's
Well,
going
I
to be
think
the
that-
same kind of like be ethical and stand up and do the right thing and
Well, see, I think that's what they'll be missing from that group is have the Boy Scout. And as we all know, of course, Superman is the Boy Scout. So, Superman, Captain America, we spoke about this last time, where they both kind of stack up next to each other. They're both, from small town, or not necessarily small town, but from that sort of old school morals from a different generation. And I think that once they get the League together, that's the one thing that they'll be missing.
definitely. I mean, if you look at it so far, for me, you're talking about like the Darkest Day or whatever. What was
Blackest
that?
Night.
Blackest Night.
Yeah.
It's not that storyline, but I'm saying
Sure.
that I'm just taking that as an analogy. If you think about it, that's kind of what they're gonna. I have a feeling that's what they're gonna do. It's gonna be like they're gonna be at their wits' end.
Mm-hmm.
They can't beat Darkseid. They
And
don't
on the
know what
dawn
to
of the
do.
third day, look to the west,
Exactly.
and I shall appear.
I mean, that's what they're going to do with it. I mean, it's definitely pointing toward that direction just by the way they got to parallel with Marvel and keep up with Marvel yet stay different.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how they're going to do it. It's almost like when you kill a really crappy character
Mm-hmm.
and then reinvent that character and bring them back in a new light.
Sure.
It's the same kind of thing. And I think overall, I think if I were them and I was the writer, I would write it to where it felt slightly empty.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It needs to feel kind of like there's a piece missing.
Sure.
And when they
So
reveal
it's-
Superman,
I mean,
that's
they've always. For those first two movies, he was completely steeped in messianic imagery. Like he's very much kind of a Messiah kind of character. And of course, if he is the Messiah or any sort of parallel to the Messiah,
Right.
we all know that the Messiah doesn't fulfill his destiny until he dies and is reborn.
Right.
So it's very much obviously what they're going for.
Right,
And so I think,
right.
and just of course, as Jesus came back and, appeared floating with his magic, Jesus-y magic, it's
Riding on his raptor.
Riding on his raptor and giving gold to all the good Christians. But that'll be kind of the image that we'll see Superman kind of bathed in light, and I think and they might even play down the monochromatic colors and just like put him in bright primaries.
exactly
You know what I
like
mean?
I said, it's a way to reinvent the character and make us forget kind of what they screwed up
And give us
on.
back the red underoos.
Well, I don't know. There are going to be too many moms and dads pointing out the fact that you can see his crotch, man.
Well, you probably not see it as well when it's covered, but
Now it just looks like he's wearing a cup. I mean, honestly.
Speaking of reimagined Superman, and this one thing I wanted to kind of bring up on this, since we're kind of talking about the DC universe as a whole. Of course, they've split everything with the DC universe. They have their movie universe.
I don't know exactly what's going on with it, so please enlighten
Well, I don't.
me.
I don't watch it a whole lot. I've watched it a little bit here and there. Like I've watched Arrow some, and it's pretty good. I feel like they're kind of dragging it out in
I'm
places.
gonna have to admit, I've hated every fucking show they've put out since
Really?
Smallville.
That's all right. Fair enough. It's
I just feel they're too. Maybe it's my age. Maybe I don't know what it is, but it just feels too teeny bopper,
Well-
too polished and commercial.
Well,
and-
hear me out here, because like this kind of what they've done is pretty brilliant. And then of course in Arrow they've introduced the Flash, whose series I think is probably more popular than Arrow now. They showed a Flashpoint, which is going to be the storyline for next season. Of course, they don't have all the characters to do Flashpoint, but with Flash, they brought in Supergirl from the CW series.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they did a crossover. So now Supergirl kind of exists in that universe. And now in the Supergirl universe, they've announced for Season 2, they're bringing in Superman finally. So they actually...
Okay, so who's going to play Superman?
Tyler...
So it's completely different Superman?
Yeah, totally different Superman. Tyler something, some guy from Teen Wolf. I can't remember his name, but I actually saw a picture of him, and he looked good.
What kind of
Hold
suit?
on.
What kind of suit? Pull the damn picture
okay,
up.
we're gonna pull it up here.
I don't know about this crap, man. It just feels cheesy now. I mean, I have to admit,
Well,
even
see,
going back and watching Smallville, the shit feels cheesy as hell. I mean, I get nostalgic, and I love Rosenbaum, and I loved his father. What was his
Lionel.
Glover? Glover was the actor that.
Donald Glover.
I loved him. I thought their acting was they're the show.
So this is your TV Superman. They look kind of New 52 with it. A little bit with the costume.
Or whatever.
It doesn't look bad. I mean, I think he looks pretty good. He has a little bit with the
Well,
cape coming
you
out
know
of the
something?
S almost.
I will have to say then this means that would be the first time that there's been more than one person portraying Superman
At the same time.
At the same time.
That's true.
That's
very
interesting.
true. So they've got now they have their Superman set up for their TV universe.
Well,
Now-
if they start toying with the films like Justice League and these other films, saying that there are parallel worlds, without having to even open up a gateway to introduce these characters,
Sure.
this could be easily a way into saying, "Hey, this is the New 52, or this is Crisis Infinity, whatever." That's kind of clever. I mean, that's an interesting. If
they
they
wanted to
tie
go that
that,
route.
I would. I mean, if they're smart marketing wise and as far as a company, then yeah, that's what I would do somehow, because it's the same thing that kind of Marvel is doing with Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, these kind of characters. It's an offshoot that doesn't have to necessarily follow the films.
Well, that's what kind of bothers me about that is I think they've said that even though the movies for Marvel and the TV shows exist within the same universe, they won't appear together, which really upsets me. Like I would love to see Charlie Cox's Daredevil appear in the Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, it would be cool to see those characters appear, but I also think that these characters are when you look at what they had with the Marvel Knights, this gives them a lot more play with these characters. When you have a character that's up on the screen, there are certain rules that the company has to obey by, certain kind of, you can't really bend the character. You can't really, you could, but most of the time Marvel and Disney won't bend that way.
Right.
Because they want to have as many people into it.
Well, I think it's because even though they're under the same ownership, there's two separate studios for their television and for their movies, and from what I understand, just based on things I've read, it's all hearsay, I don't know, but apparently they don't get along too well.
I've heard that too, but I've also, if you look at Jessica Jones so far, and you look at the character Daredevil and
Sure.
what they're doing with Punisher,
And they've released
dark.
the Luke Cage trailer,
Right.
and the Iron Fist trailer. Those are both out. And
They're
then
very dark.
yeah,
Everything's
absolutely,
dark
very
and
gritty.
And-
Exactly.
And I think if they stay with Netflix, they're going to have more freedom to explore this grittiness. I can definitely see them doing. I've heard rumors of the Ghost Rider series.
Well, no, you didn't know. Ghost Rider will be appearing on season 4 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh.
They announced that at ComiCon. And they even released a little teaser trailer.
So they stole it away. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
For a
Marvel
little
Marvel
while.
Television got that away from them. So
Well, we'll
so
see.
Marvel has it. It's going to Marvel TV. They're basically going to feature Ghost Rider in season 4 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So that'll be the big draw for season 4.
Okay. Well, that's interesting.
It's,
We'll see what they're going to do with it. But like we were just touching on with the Justice League, if they mention parallel worlds instantly, it explains what's going on with
absolutely.
the DC TV universe.
Sure. I mean, and parallel worlds are a huge thing in the DC universe.
Like I said, we'll have to see. I mean, overall, we'll have to see how this guy portrays Superman.
But that's if they can bring in Superman, and then we already know that Batman exists in that wheelhouse somewhere because they've brought in Ra's al Ghul has been a villain on Arrow.
Yeah, but you're also touching into Gotham, which I don't know if
Gotham I think is kind of its own entity.
it?
Yeah, because that takes place prior to Batman.
right, but we don't know what the time period is, and we don't know.
I'll rephrase. I like to believe that Gotham is its own entity because
Okay.
they're really kind of taking some wild liberties with those
Well,
characters.
yeah. By the time Batman becomes Batman, all
If
his
you,
villains are going to be in their 50s.
if you go
and
back
60s, so
if you go back to episode 2 of this show where I watched the pilot of Gotham,
right,
and I just kind of me and Rick and Greg reviewed it, and I just walked away shaking my head, saying, "Nope, I'm not doing this. I refuse to watch this show. I can't."
I've watched it a couple times. I liked the way they're portraying characters differently and stuff.
Sure,
But I pretend like it's not canon. I don't pretend like it's.
I think everybody
it's
else.
its own kind of thing, because my problem, like I said, they introduced every villain he's ever had, and a lot of these
Really?
villains become villains because of Batman.
Yeah,
in a
and
lot
this
of
is
different
Jim
ways.
Gordon is responsible for it. And if
So
Jim
it's
Gordon is
almost
taking
like-
down the villains, then what the hell is Batman needed
I mean,
for?
some of these villains they keep introducing are in their 20s, and Batman's supposed to
He's
be
like 8 years
14.
old. Yeah, no, and he's not even 14. He's like 8, 9 years old. He's
Well,
he's
whatever
fresh
the-
out of watching his parents get gunned down.
Well, yeah, from what I've watched, and with him and the young Catwoman, they're 11, 12 years old.
Sure.
But by the time Batman becomes Batman,
Which he's still got like another
they're all
10, 15 years.
40s.
Yeah.
And so, what, 20-year-old Batman can't kick a 40-year-old? You know what I mean? Like, come on now. It's
Yeah.
just, but it's almost like they've kind of pushed Batman out and made Jim Gordon the. But we'll see. Like, I haven't seen the last season of it, so I don't really know where they're going with it. So.
Yeah.
But I definitely think it's interesting that if DC touches on this multi-universe thing, it is definitely a way for them to tie all their stuff together.
I don't think they'll cross over. I think there might be comic books or things where they cross over.
Yeah,
sure.
definitely not. But I think
Non-canon comic
Well, and
books.
I even explained that it's the way it looks and feels from what they're trying to do cinematically.
Sure.
It just doesn't jive. I don't think the actors.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you think about it, it's like a daytime soap opera.
Mhm.
Okay, that comes
Sure.
on that your mom used to watch. All
Absolutely.
My Children, whatever. But superheroes.
Sure.
I don't think that translates, and that's why you've never seen like a crossover onto TV or from daytime soaps to a full-time movies, because they just don't work that way. It's the acting is different,
Sure.
the settings are different. It's much more enclosed, I think, when you're filming a TV series compared to what you're doing cinematically in a film.
Mm-hmm.
It's wide open. You go to really crazy different locations and stuff like that. So.
Well, it's interesting, man. We'll have to stay tuned for the next couple of months. Actually, coming this week, we'll see how Suicide Squad pans out, and then we'll
excited.
we'll have to go see it, and then we'll talk about it.
Everybody's excited about Harley and Joker and all these other characters. I like Boomerang.
Yeah.
That's why I shaved. Can't you tell, Doolin?
Yeah, the facial hair looks different.
Yes, I'm doing the whole Boomerang, Captain Boomerang.
Is that what it is? Okay, so you're all prepped for Suicide Squad this weekend.
I think so. I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see how they tie it all together and how this will mix into what they're doing cinematically.
Excellent. Yeah, well, we'll stay tuned, man. It's going to be an exciting next couple of months and next couple of years to see where everything goes. So, I'm definitely excited about it. But anyways, man, we're going to go ahead and bring it to a close today. Ryan, man, I appreciate you coming in and sitting in on me, nerding out with me for a little bit.
Of course, man. I enjoy it. Thanks so much for having me.
We'll have to get you back in here a little bit more, maybe crank out some more content.
I can tell everybody how much everything that's Ghostbuster related is awesome. The new Ghostbusters.
Once again, we don't have enough of a following. You're not going to piss anybody off.
Damn it. Come on now. It was the greatest movie ever made.
Don't you talk about The Last Samurai like that.
I'm sorry.
I'm kidding. But anyways, for Welcome to Nerdtopia, I'm Doolin Dalton.
And I'm Ryan Visingard.
And thanks for nerding out with us, guys.
And I'm Ryan Visingard.
And thanks for nerding out with us, guys. Have a good night.
Do do do.